You're back in the toy room, and so am I. I wouldn't have thought it would be so soon that we would be leaving the toy room right away, but we're going to have to take a little field trip out into the other room to get today's toy. When people stop by my house, I will often give them a tour if they've never been here before, all the way from the basement up through the rooms, even out in the garage to see my old 5-speed Stingray. And the final destination is the toy room, and oftentimes the final thing would be a demonstration of the Charley Weaver Bartender toy. So we'll go on out over to the other room and find him. This is the Wave bookshelf that's off to the left as you enter the front door of my house. And down in this section of the Wave bookshelf is Charley Weaver, and we'll bring him back on into the toy room. One of my fond memories from growing up on 14th Avenue in South St. Paul, Minnesota, was going across the street to visit my friend Tim Wilcox and his dad, Rudy Wilcox, down in his basement, as some people did in the 1960s, had a little bar set up down in his basement. And one of the things that he had on his bar was the Charley Weaver Bartender toy. And he would demonstrate that for us a couple times, and I was fascinated by it. Charley Weaver is actually Cliff Arquette, and he started out in show business in the 1920s, and he did radio and theater and some film work, and he retired from show business in 1956. So one night in the later 50s, he was watching The Tonight Show, which in the beginning was hosted by Jack Paar, and Jack Paar rhetorically asked, "Whatever happened to Cliff Arquette?" And Cliff tells the story that he was so surprised by this that he almost dropped his scotch. A bit later, Jack Paar invited Cliff Arquette onto The Tonight Show, and it was then that Cliff invented the character of Charley Weaver with his squished hat and his rumpled character, and he would read these letters from his mama and talk about the fictional town and the people that lived in it. And that was kind of his bit. Of course, I mostly remember Charley Weaver from Hollywood Squares, and I was really unaware of the origins of where the character came from. And it's interesting to note that Cliff Arquette is the grandfather of some famous Arquettes that you may know, Patricia Arquette, Rosanna, and David Arquette. When I was an adult and started going to flea markets and antique shows, I was surprised to come across one of these Charley Weaver Bartender toys that I remembered from when I was a child. And oftentimes they would be in pretty beat up shape. The clothes on Charley would not be in very good shape at all. And a lot of times his glasses would turn part of his face green, or he'd be missing his hat, or wouldn't have the glass in his hand. And of course, you would almost never see it with the box. So I waited many years until I got a good example, a working copy of the Charley Weaver Bartender toy. And in case you're wondering who Elsie Crack is, because it says on the front of his little bar that she was here, she is the ugliest and strongest girl in town. This is the front of the box. We see that this is the Charley Weaver battery-powered bartender. There's a nice illustration on the front here. There's Charley mixing up his drink. He's got the martini glass, and he's got all his stuff here at the bar. And on the side of the box, we see an illustration of Charley Weaver reading a letter from his mama. And then it goes through the stages of how the toy works and mixing up the drink and drinking the drink. This is the end of the box. We see it's battery powered and it's made by Roscoe, and it was made in 1962. In the bottom of the front of the box we see the copyright date of 1962, and that somehow Roy Rogers was involved with the production of this toy. Not sure how, but I guess he was. We turn on the Charley Weaver toy, we reach around back here and flip the switch, and Charley Weaver starts mixing up a drink. He pours it in the glass, he brings it up to his lips, takes a good swig, and smoke comes out of his ears, his face turns red, and his lips are puckered up. He's mixing himself another one. There he goes. Mixing it up. He's bringing it up to his mouth, and he smacks his lips, and smoke comes out of his ears, and face turns red. Well, this is Mark and Charlie Weaver saying so long from the toy room. It was good to see you again. Until next time, good day and good night.